And to be anti-capitalism is to be pro being broke. You see, a lot of us are anti-capitalist because we haven't been able to thrive in the capitalist system. And I tell you that this system is for you. And your number one goal is to study and learn about how you can thrive within the capitalist system. And I have another video. In fact, I have a Udemy course on entrepreneurship. Please reach out to me. I'll be happy to share it with you, because I don't want to just give you useless knowledge. As I mentioned, is one of our problems. I want to give you practical knowledge. You look at Jay-Z, he's a capitalist, just as Warren Buffett. The fact is, capitalism is not a white thing. It's not a white system. It's an effective economic system that you ought to leverage to get your money right. Here are some behaviors we need to stop. And I'm not saying I've never engaged in any of these behaviors. I'm saying as a collective, we need to stop these. Number one, thinking that others care about you. It turns out that your number one supporter should be you as a black person, as a black collective. You cannot rely on others, that is non-blacks, whites, Latinos, or LGBTQ folks, to care about you and to advocate for you or to support you. I remember when I was just coming out of Berkeley, I moved to San Francisco, as most of us do, and I was living there with a couple Caucasians, and one of whom I thought was just a real bad guy. He didn't seem like he wanted to help anyone. And one day I said, "Hey, Taylor, do you care about anyone?" And he said, "Well, Marquette, yes, I do. I care about my friends and family, and if everyone helps their friends and family, we will all be good to go." And I thought about that, and I said, God damn it, you are right. If I take care of my friends and family, and we all do that, we will be good to go. Because it turns out the government won't take care of you. Your neighbor who doesn't know your name won't take care of you. And why should they? They don't know you. They have nothing that they owe to you. You owe it to yourself to be strong, to be economically solvent, so that you can help yourself. And in times of need, you can help your friends and family. And that's how the real world works. You might want people to care about you, but they don't. We need to live in the real world. Behavior number two that we as black folks need to stop. We must stop joining coalitions, meaning aligning ourselves with movements that really have nothing to do with our actual interests. For example, if you look at the Black Lives Matter movement, which purports to be in support of black issues, the quote-unquote leaders of this movement have essentially aligned themselves with the LGBTQ. And so you'll hear folks who represent this movement saying, we don't want everything being controlled by cisgender white males. First off, what is cisgender? I'm not going to pick up some fake vocabulary, words that were created by liberals to confuse people or to mask the truth. By cisgender, I think they mean heterosexual. And heterosexual, I believe, is pretty standard stuff on the planet Earth. When they bring in this whole cisgender piece, meaning heterosexual, what they're really doing is trying to make heterosexuality seem like less than normal, seem like it's simply an alternative rather than the standard, rather than the primary. And you'll hear them talking about aligning with LGBTQ movements. The problem is, once you start aligning your interests with LGBTQ or any other movement, whether it's immigration or fill in the blank, you forget about your core issues, which maybe your core issue was stopping disproportionate sentencing of blacks who commit the same crimes as whites, which is a fact. There's research on that. Or maybe your core issue was stopping illegitimacy in black families, meaning 70% of black women being in families where there's no father present. Now you're talking about so many things, you never achieve your core aim. And it's called a lack of focus. You get diverted. Your attention and your power gets watered down. Black lives matter. Yeah, it's true. Black lives do matter. But this phraseology is around getting black lives to matter to police or to matter to the average white person. Again, goes back to my last recommendation. Do not think other folks care about you. It's not their business to care about you. It's your business to care about you. Don't waste your time trying to get black lives to matter to white folks or to police. Use your time trying to get black lives to matter to black people. Trying to get black lives to matter to you. Stop aborting black children, or stop committing violence against one another, or, fill in the blank with a multitude of ways we can show that we matter to ourselves and to one another. Because I can guarantee you, you will use a lot of energy uselessly trying to get police or white folks to care about black folks in the way that you deem appropriate. We must stop being fooled by marches, speeches, rallies, holidays, and black presidents. You went on a march, so you did something. No, you marched, you did nothing. You blocked the freeway, you just inconvenienced a bunch of people, some of whom may have been sympathetic to your cause, and now you've made them late to work or just inconvenienced them, and now they're pissed off, and they might now become an enemy of yours. Boycotts, economic boycotts, those are powerful. But when we're talking about speeches, people babbling, and they're not giving practical instructions that you can use in your daily life to achieve your struggle, that's silly. So these marches, these speeches, useless. Holidays, Martin Luther King Day, whatever it's called, MLK Day. What does that do? You get a day off of work in which you probably don't do anything really productive, and you think you've achieved something. And you have to wonder, if it was the government that had de jure segregation, it was the government who had legal segregation, who legally put you down, and then it's the same government under the same flag that gives you the Martin Luther King holiday, you have to ask, was that just a strategy to co-opt you and calm you down? Don't be foolish. Holidays mean nothing. You would learn a lot by your Jewish brothers and sisters who go for economics, cash rules. Let the money talk. The holidays don't talk. And then the last thing, Barack Obama. He's not Michael Jordan black, but he is considered a black man. Fact. But did he do anything for black folks? If you look at the legislation passed, you'll find that most of his legislation was for LGBTQ folks, his revolutionary legislation, and as well as for healthcare. Was that for black people, or was that for people who are in poverty? There are black people, white people, Latinos, immigrants, undocumented, all people who benefit from the healthcare. So it's not something for black people. In fact, you'd be hard-pressed to name anything he did specifically for black people, because he did not do anything specifically for black people. People in the past have said, well, is it possible to do something for a demographic group? Yes, he passed tremendous legislation for LGBTQ, and in fact, is one of the few times you find the federal government bullying the states, infringing upon states' rights for the purpose of LGBTQ legislation. Also, if you look at federal legislation in terms of funding for Holocaust museums, or funding that we're sending to specific countries, aid, things like that. Yeah, aid goes to certain countries in very mass amounts because specific demographics within the United States lobby for that. So yes, presidents and governments do things for specific demographics. So don't be fooled by speeches, marches, presidents, all this stuff, because it has no effect. The biggest effect will be how you change your behavior and your culture in your communities and in your day-to-day life. And that is what you really should focus on, because you are indeed a minority group within the United States, numerically, 12, 13% of the population. You will not affect the government, particularly because you don't have the money or the numerical power. So do not be fooled by those things. Those are symbols. Keep your eyes peeled for real change, which typically shows up in money. And then keep your eyes peeled for the change you can create by doing good in your community, having workshops, and building your own family and teaching your children lessons daily in economics, lessons in morality, lessons that I'm sharing with you. So do subscribe and like. And here is the very last and perhaps the most important behavior for you to stop. Stop being a white supremacist. And I'm talking to black folks. You see, I see the white supremacy in you. I see it when you go to a university and you don't study as hard as you should because you don't believe in yourself. And we know where that lack of belief came from. I see it in you when you look at one another and you don't see beauty and you don't see love. You hate one another. I see that. That is the white supremacy you must defeat. It's not white supremacy in white folks. If white folks are white supremacists, good for them. Hell, I want to think I'm the best too. I'd like to think I'm supreme too. Good for them. But you ought not be a white supremacist. You ought not practice hatred on yourself and on other black folks. That's what you need to focus on. So, that's the end to the behaviors that you need to stop. Now I'd like to discuss behaviors that will have you moving forward rapidly, because that's what we need, that's what we deserve. So let's get into that. So as conscious folks, I know that you all are avid readers and great students. And so I want to encourage you to leverage those strengths to, number one, study things that are practical. Maybe you study computer coding so that you can turn that into gainful employment. Perhaps you study cryptocurrencies because right now it's a great short-term investment vehicle if you do the requisite research. And happy to also talk to you about that. But study things that are practical that you can apply. Maybe you study the biography of Dr. Ben Carson. You might not agree with his politics, but once you research the man, you'll find, gee, phenomenal work ethic, a great deal of faith, which he used to do things that have never been done before, i.e., separating occipitally conjoined craniospagus twins. And do research to find inspiration that you can use to apply to your own endeavors. Do research to learn practical skills you can use for gaining money in a job. I recommend you find a detailed moral code to live by. And Christianity, Protestantism in the past has been okay, but in today's age, it's been eroded largely by the liberal LGBTQ effort that you're finding in popular media. And also Christianity, if you actually go through and read both of the texts, New and Old Testament, you'll find that it doesn't give a lot of prescription in terms of how to conduct yourself in a wide range of matters. So it might not help you. My recommendation to find a very detailed code of conduct to make sure that you're disciplined, engaging in the right practices that will save you money, allow you to be industrious, and allow you to be upright and people to know that you're honest and help you in your business dealings. I recommend something that has orthodoxy, whether it's Orthodox Islam, or it's even Judaism, or it's one of the more strict versions of Christianity like the Amish or the Mennonites. Something that is detailed and gives you a clear way of conducting yourself. Even if you look at the work by Neely Fuller, he gives great recommendations on how to conduct yourself. But find something, because it turns out that this is a very complex world. I even have my own philosophy, Marquettism, which helps you operate morally in today's very sophisticated world. But find some way to be thoughtful about your conduct, because there are a myriad of ways to end up incarcerated or in a situation that will stop you from earning. So that's my second recommendation on moving yourself forward. And the last piece of advice is to get money. Get as much of it as you can, because it turns out that is the key to sustaining yourself and sustaining your family. And there's no evil to accumulating, because the more wealth you can accumulate, the more you can share with the people you care about, the more you can help the causes that mean something to you. And all the things that I say, I don't say to get attention or to aggrandize myself. I say it because I've lived these experiences and I know what works. I know that giving you knowledge that you can apply will be meaningful to changing your life. I know that teaching you about focusing on skills that are applicable to jobs will help you earn. And earning will relieve stress from your mind, and it will allow you to thrive. And say you did come into an unfortunate situation with the police or with anyone. Now you have the money to protect yourself. So I encourage you to think through the things that I've mentioned and really review this in detail, and most importantly, share. Share this so that you might enhance the lives of others. Thank you for listening. Please go ahead and click that like button.